Hey, 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 hey! Welcome to Motivated Entrepreneurs. Well, I have just finished an interview with James Boardman. Oh my God, what an interview. And by the way, if you are a first-time listener, we have an episode each and every single day. We do one interview per week, and the rest of it is me just dropping value bombs every other day. Hopefully dropping value bombs. That's the idea anyway. Okay, so James Boardman he's an author of a book that really inspired me and massively helped my life. And it's a book called It's a State of Mind. And I recommend that everybody listen to it. And hopefully just listening to this interview, it's not really an interview, it's like a chat. I felt like I was having a chat with a mate. It was really, do you know what? I'm just going to, look, I've got a double-sided A4 notes I've taken because James is so knowledgeable. He tells you about his story, what he's been through, the adversity he's overcome, and how low he got when he nearly took his own life to where he is right now, coaching other men, helping other men, and having a massive positive impact on other men. I just thought it was a great episode. I really enjoyed talking to James. I can genuinely tell, hopefully, that for me anyway, I feel like we're going to be buddies for a long, long time because I can resonate and relate to so much of what he says, what he does, and what he's been achieving in his life. If you notice, by the way, I was waving my head a lot during this interview. The day we recorded is one of the hottest days in the UK so far, and I went for a run before 9 o'clock. The interview was 11 o'clock, and don't get me wrong, I finished run at 9:30. I've been for a shower and I was still sweating. I was like, God blimey, this is not good. Anyway, so if you see me going like that a lot, wiping my forehead, then you know why. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast, you're probably, what the hell? I don't even know what you're on about, Dean. It doesn't matter. Right, stop babbling, Dean. Stop goofing around and get on. This is James Boardman. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe if you want to continue hearing me every single day coming at you and coming in your ears. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I will speak to you guys on the other side tomorrow. Anyway, enjoy the episode with James. I really got a lot out of this personally, and I hope you guys do as well. Okay, I will speak to you tomorrow. Enjoy the episode. Here is my good man, James. My motivational warriors, it gives me massive, massive pleasure to welcome James Boardman to the podcast. James, before we were talking about how much you've inspired my life, and your book, It's a State of Mind, is a phenomenal book. So firstly, buddy, thank you so much for your time, pal. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I love coming on and meeting new people and connecting and helping.
Awesome. So if you can tell listeners just a bit about you, give us a glimpse into your personal life and just tell us what you do, pal.
Sure. So I'm pretty much a self-inflicted workaholic. A father of three. So that I know of. I left the Royal Marines in 2011. I had an 8.5-year career in the Royal Marines. So throughout that time, I served as a sniper, went to Afghanistan as a sniper, part of a sniper team. Then went on to train as a physical training instructor. So I was responsible for making sure the recruits were physically strong and mentally robust enough to pass all their tests and pass out as a trained rank. And then I trained to be an outdoor instructor for the Marines as well. So climbing, kayaking. I had to make the decision to leave because I wanted to come home to be with my 2 kids at the time and my wife at the time. I was doing a 700, 800 mile round trip sometimes every weekend just to get a day and a half at home. And my dad died when he was young, and I really wanted to have a presence in my kids' life. So I decided to leave. Very, very difficult decision. And what followed were probably the 3 hardest years of my life in terms of how I just crumbled. I went from an inspired, motivated, driven human being to being literally, ironically, right here on this bed, right at this point here where I was minutes probably away from taking my own life, to be honest.
Whoa.
So I let my marriage go through me being completely selfish and irrational. Pretty much got hooked onto booze. I lost all personality. I had an identity crisis where I couldn't let go of my status as a sergeant in the Royal Marines. Couldn't let that go. Was trying to live that life in civilian world, and it just wasn't working. Had no idea how to grasp onto a new identity until I was forced into self-employment. So I created my fitness boot camp, knew nothing about business, And in the first 12 months, simply by watching videos online at the time, I created a 6-figure business just by myself and hard work. And in that 12 months, really created a brand new identity. And as I gripped hold of this new identity and this new purpose and this new passion and drive, which was entrepreneurship, I slowly let go of the Royal Marine one. And as I let go of that, I was able to let go of a lot of the hurt and confliction that was going on in my head. So I rebuilt myself up. In 2016, I decided that I wanted to go online. I had no idea what I was doing. Again, just trained, visited seminars, learned. First 2 years were up and down. And then in 2017, I created the Dad Coach brand. I wrote my book, It's a State of Mind, at the same time as having Alba, who was our third, as well as running 100 miles that year. That was a very tough year. So we rebranded 3 months ago to the Man Coach, and I'm sitting here today in front of you as the guy who's founded and running the Man Coach company.
Wow. Do you know what? That is such an awesome story, because I always say things happen for you and not to you. And that thing that you went through, although it was absolutely devastating, can you imagine like the impact that you're having on the world now? You've genuinely helped me as well. And these are people I've never spoke to you before, never got in contact with you before. So you're actually impacting people who aren't going through your coaching problem and just your coaching program and just reading your books, and you're having an impact on their life. It must be so amazing and so fulfilling to know that you're having that positive impact on the world. What motivated you then to actually, I know in your book you mentioned about you went for a jog and you went for, it was only supposed to be a small job, but then you carried on and you carried on from there. What was the point of no return? When did you think, do you know what, let's get back in the game?
Yeah, so it was actually after that run. So there's a number of contributing factors to this. Number one was that the first one was going for that run. So as you explained there, when I was sitting here, it was minutes away from really doing something silly. I went out for a run. It was like 3 a.m. and I remember it was like a really cold night. I was like, I'm just going to run around the corner and come back here. And it ended up being a 3-hour run. And through that run, I was crying, I was laughing, I was dwelling, I was reflecting. But you know what? Like those 3 hours to come back, and I just caught a glimpse. It was like the clouds parted and I caught a glimpse of my potential again, of who I was, my roots from the Royal Marines. And I got back and I put all the tablets back and I poured, like, God help me, a whole bottle of Jack Daniels down the sink and I said, that's it, let's fucking go. Let's, and I can't explain to people unless you're in there, but something just twigged to me. And I will always put it down to my 2 kids who inevitably saved me without them really. They'll understand that when they're older, but the connection to them to be the ultimate dad again. I came home, I left the job of my dreams to be home with them, and yet I was going to let them down and be that person. So that was one of my driving factors. The other one was that I then wanted, when I started online in 2016, I wanted to help guys who were in a position where I was. Now, in that first year when I was in business, I couldn't afford, like, I was living off Tesco value baked beans and bread. I would only put heating on when the kids were here because I couldn't afford to do anything else. We had repossession notices on the house. I had no money. So I very quickly, had to build myself up. And I did that through watching free content. And I was like, I want to be able to help guys, even if they can't afford to work with me, even if they can't commit to work with me. But every single day I want to be present in their life and have some sort of effect, like you said. So, we do the free podcast, we do the Rise to Thrive show, we do the free 5-day challenge. Like, there's loads. I mean, there's so much content for you to get that I think that if I can just, like what you said, is make one impact on one person, the ripple effects are huge. And I'm not great at taking compliments at all, but one of my favorite ones is when they say, me and my wife have managed to secure our marriage, or you've brought me closer to my family, or I like, they're the most impactful ones for me because I can resonate with them the most. And I think the third driving force is that my dad died when he was 5 of a heart attack. So he had a very unhealthy life. He was stressed with work. His diet was poor. He drank a lot of alcohol. He smoked. And I missed out on having my dad bring me up for, since I was 5 years old. So I missed out on all that time with him. But I kind of always think that I want to maybe I can make an impact on men, whether if you've got kids or something like that, so that don't make the same mistakes in terms of crashing and burning and then missing out on the rest of their kids' lives, or their kids missing out on their father being around for the rest of their life. So it's kind of those three driving forces that create the mission that I'm on.
Yeah, James, I genuinely, I know you don't take credit, you don't like taking compliments, but it's an inspirational journey, buddy. And I didn't go through anything sort of like to your level, but I had a business. I started, many listeners will know, I started a restaurant, and the restaurant absolutely tanked. And I had my one of my babies just been born as well. I've got 2 kids, and the restaurant tanked, and we was losing money left, right, and center. I actually lost 6 figures, and it was everything that I built up. I feel like did really, really well, and all of a sudden I opened the restaurant. Why would I do that? And the only time in my life when I feel like that I felt there was no way out. I literally didn't want to get on my covers. I laid there in bed. I heard my alarm, and all I wanted to do was stay in bed because nobody could get me. I had the feeling like I was safe. Nobody could get me. Nobody could hurt me. Nobody could do anything to me. And it was a horrible, horrible time. And my friends and family will know, and people listening to this podcast, I spoke about it before. I had one brief moment where I just thought the world would be better if I weren't here. And I thought, what the hell am I thinking? And I had to get myself back in a state of mind again. And it was a horrible journey. But now I look where I progressed, where I was at. I was literally, it was the worst moment of my life. And from where I was then to where I've gone now, and you've done it it's phenomenal, your story, and the fact that you're impacting people as well. I just think that's incredible. What keeps you motivated now? Sorry?
We have to go, like, your story there, that kind of created who you are today. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
I'm a big believer, a lot of people would say, would you change the way that what you've gone through? And I would be like, well, if I had changed it, maybe I know that I probably wouldn't be doing this job right now, for example, or there certainly wouldn't be the passion or the drive or the commitment there. And I think what you have to go through, I don't necessarily call them failures. I go through learning points learning chapters that we go through in our lives. There's like the mistakes that we've made, I would never go through again. Do you know what I mean? But they create you, they define you, and they define your message, and they define the people that follow you. It's that ripple effect, I think, that follows through.
I don't even say it's my biggest failure. I say it was the worst point in my life, but you know what? It was the most impactful part of my life that I went through, and I wouldn't change it for the world. We've done, I think it was episode number 3 of the podcast. We've done 130 odd now, and it was the biggest learning for me. It was a learning curve. And if I wouldn't have gone through that, there's no way I'd be dedicated now to reading 2 books a week, listening to all the podcasts I do, trying to be the best possible dad. And I was saying that's how I found you, because I wanted to research being a good dad. And because that to me is really, really important. I want to impact my kids as best as I can. And that's how I came across you. How do you stay motivated now then? What keeps you going? Is it still the kids?
It's a culmination of everything, really. I think it's the kid, like, so when it comes to priority, I'm always the priority. So like that might sound super selfish, but let me very quickly explain this in case people are listening going, what a twat. So I'm the priority because I want you to imagine 2 triangles, and these are my priority triangles. Okay, there's model A and model B. Model A is you at the very bottom of the triangle. So if you think about you're at the bottom of the triangle and you think about like a shoulder press, and you're holding, people see the video of this, there's me holding my arms up here, but like you're holding this and you've got the 4 pillars. Now I work off 4 pillars with my clients. That's health, business / career, personal growth and development, and relationships. So you've got the weight of all of those in the triangle, and you're just carrying them. Okay, they're on your back. So you've got obligations, misplaced priorities, misplaced obligations, and your time and energy is being wasted on the wrong thing. Then you've got model B. So you are standing at the very top of the pyramid. Okay, and you've got your family, and you've got your health, and you've got all of the things in order, and works at the bottom. When you're at the top and you put yourself first, so you prioritize time for you, your health, your mind, mental and emotional well-being, everybody gets the best version of you. When you're at the bottom holding on to the pyramid, you're not the best version of you. So you're snappy, overwhelmed, chaotic, stressed, frustrated, misguided. That then leads down the route that ended me ended up being in this room with the tablets and the booze, you then end up resorting to affairs, alcohol, drugs, fast food, junks. That's the negative place, right? So you're carrying away the world. When you learn to put yourself first, not only is your relationships and you're closer with your family, the communication's better with your wife and your kids, not everyone's treading on eggshells around you, your business is flowing, you're creative, you're on top of your game. So that is like those two models. And I want you to think about putting yourself first. So in terms of kind of like what motivates me now is the mission I'm on. So I've got never have any intention of retiring. Like I'm not one of those guys that I want to get to here and I want to retire.
Yeah.
Like it's almost, if you think about the old days, they used to go on a crusade back in the day and they would teach people their ways and teach people their followings. There's so many people to save. So I kind of break it down into lots of different things. In terms of work, it's remember the mission. That's our slogan. Remember the mission. And the mission is to change the world one man at a time. Okay. Change the world one man at a time. So to do that, we've got to show up every single day. Then when it comes to my personal life, it's making sure that I leave the legacy for all of my kids. Like I want to be here. So what makes me want to work out is to be healthy and fit, to watch every single one of them get married and see every one of them have a child if they're not gay. Do you know what I mean? Or if they're or whatever it is. But being here for that amount of time, I'm 42, I at least want to get to 90. So I've got to show up every single day. The only way both of those professional and personal missions are met is if I show up every single day and follow my rituals, my routines, and all of the stuff that I have in place to get to that point. And that just keeps the fire. Like, you know, that's my passion.
I love it. Yeah. And I completely agree. Do you know, it's interesting you say that because I've got here my biggest takeaway of your book, James, was you measuring my life in 4 different areas, personal, health, business, and relationships. And our pre-interview chat, I actually mentioned that, and I've mentioned on the podcast previously as well, I feel like I dropped the ball in terms of friends. Business is going well. I love doing this podcast. It's a real passion of mine. And the relationship with my wife is good. It's great. I mean, she probably won't think it is, but I genuinely do feel like we both try and make an effort. My kids. But the one area where I've dropped the ball is definitely my friends. I'm terrible at texting back. I'm terrible. And I mentioned to you after reading the book, again, I actually got in contact with one of my friends I haven't spoken to in a long time, and I found out he spoke with his wife. And I didn't know that. And I felt like such an ass because he didn't feel he could tell me or didn't feel he could reach out. And I hadn't reached out, but now we're seeing each other. And it's all because of you, because of what you mentioned. So you mentioned routine there. What's routine to you then, James? What do you do on a daily basis to do you, to be the best version of yourself?
Okay. So routine for me is pretty much, for me personally, and what I teach is the backbone of everything that you do. Without routine, without structure, I kind of feel like everything becomes chaos. Routine are guidelines to getting you to where you want to be. So I'll give you a couple of examples of routines for me. So a morning routine is non-negotiable. So for me, when people warm up for exercise, they're physically and mentally preparing for the activity ahead of them. Yeah. Morning routine is, for me, exactly the same. It's mentally and physically preparing themselves for the day. So my routine starts at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm up between 4 and 5, and that is just a case of admin, proofreading my email, getting the dog set up. To be honest with you, I'm out of the house by 4:45. I have different walking routes for each different day. Sometimes it's the seafront, sometimes it's the country. And on that, I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I do my morning show. On other days, I schedule posts ahead. I listen to an hour of an audio book, meditate, and I'm currently filming I'm doing a vlog at the minute. So currently showing the ins and outs, all access areas, something like that, of my life, inside and out. Get back home for 7, then we have family breakfast on this bed. So we have breakfast in bed together with the family for an hour. And then workout is from 8 till 9. And then like from 9, usually sometimes I go to jiu-jitsu, or most of the time I'm in the office ready to go into routines. Now, professionally, we have working routines. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'll just briefly go through it. We have what's called the kill zone. So the kill zone is between 9 and 12:30 in the morning. Now, this is when I feel anybody, whether you're a business owner or you're in a career or you're working in an office or whatever it is, this is where you do your number one tasks, right? This is where the real focus and the real gold is earned. So between 9 and 10:30 is deep work session 1. 0 distractions, phones off, complete clarity from what you've planned at the weekend on what that number one task is. Half an hour break. Then from 11 to 12:30 is deep work session 2. So then you go all in. And I honestly reckon that if you can get into the flow state of doing this, and you're disciplined with this, and you're productive with this, you can do more in that 3 hours than most doing a whole 9-hour shift. You break for an hour, and then you go to the wrap-up session. So this is all where your second priorities, your catch-ups, your admins, your wrap-ups, your content creation, all the cool stuff. I like to think that doesn't need so much of your energy and concentration, right? Yeah. By 1:30, I'm flagging, okay, from being up at 4. So I'm going to make sure the biggest work's done at the start. You then go down, and then when we have what's called a transition routine. So the transition routine is learning to go from work mode to personal mode and leaving the armor at the door. So quite often we take emotions back with us, mental states, aggressions, angers, joys, whatever. It's usually shit, isn't it, when we've been working? And we take that intensity back into the house, and everyone can feel it in the house. Like the wife's treading on eggshells, we're snappy with the kids, we grab a beer. So it's being able to decompress, as I call it. So it's like brain dumping everything that's happened. It's like brain dumping everything that needs to happen, affirming with what you've planned for the morning to gain clarity on reviewing the day, wins, losses, areas for improvements, focuses for the next day. Then going for a walk for 20 minutes to again decompress even more, because we have 100,000 thoughts going through our mind, right? So it's just kind of like letting the dust settle, listening to a podcast, and then going back into the personal environment, switching your phone on airplane mode so only favorites can get through, and actually being present at home. So when I get back home, I close the laptop, I put my phone on top of the laptop, and I don't go back to it until I set my alarm for the next day. And that kind of takes me right throughout Monday to Friday. Saturday, Sunday, I have no routine. I have no structure. I get up whenever I want to. Like Father's Day, we're in bed at 11 o'clock in the morning still. The weekends give me a chance just to do whatever I want. But by Sunday night, I'm bouncing off the walls ready to go for Monday. And that's kind of like been my routine. And that's taken a while to build and grow and develop.
Holy shit, James. I genuinely believe that will have helped so many people out. That is amazing. I was like, yeah, I'm with you there. I'm like, shit, crap. Yeah, I fall down on this one. So basically, I get up at 5 a.m. And I listen to a course of some sort. I buy a course, and so I listen to a course, and then I like to go for a run, and I make sure I'm back by 7 o'clock. So when the kids come up and then I have 4 sections of the day, 45 minutes of intensive work on each section. And if I do them 4, it doesn't matter. The rest of the day can do whatever. But when you said about the transition and you go for a walk from work to home, I definitely fall down there, buddy. That's where I struggle, because I want to be present with the kids. I want to be there when they come home from school, or at least be home at 5 o'clock so I can play in the back garden with them, do something. But I'm checking email. I'm still thinking, have they done that? Have they done this? And that's where I struggle, a transitional period.
So there's a couple of reasons here. So one of them is, I think when you work for yourself, especially, and it's not just for entrepreneurs, but other people, there's a high level of intensity that builds up in here. Like you can feel the intensity of your work. Like I've just got to go and check the notifications. I've just got to check my email. But the truth is that if you have so I create rules in my life. So there are 10 rules that I create. And one of those rules is to make sure that by 5:30, we're done. So there was and one of the other mistakes I used to make was starting big projects later on in the afternoon, right? That I know that I was never going to be able to finish at 5:30, or emotionally and mentally let go of. So you get so enthralled in something that it's very hard to come out. And that intensity, you're like, I just can't relax. I've got the jitters. I'm like, I want to go all night. Let's go. And what I find by just doing a 2-3 mile walk and listening to something is that by the time I come back, I've got a bit of a sweat on. I'm a little bit tired. That activity has calmed my nerves. And I think that's just an entrepreneur type of thing. It's like, you're like, ready, that's the hustle in you wanting to continue. But this is where you have to learn the balance and what works. By not replying to an email, by not meeting a notification, by not getting back to someone to the next day, doesn't mean that your business is going to collapse overnight. If anything, it shows control measures to your clients. What you are trying to. If I message a client back at 9 o'clock at night and was like, "Oh yeah, buddy, let's go," and then he's on the program and I'm saying, "Right, guys, switch off at 5:30." It fucking contradicts everything that I'm trying to teach them. And if the bloke's not prepared to wait till the morning once I've finished me and everything that I do, then he's not welcome to come in my program. Do you know what I mean? And that's puts you back in control.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and yeah, you're completely contradicting yourself if you're teaching one thing but then doing something completely different. It's like undermining everything you do. So let's talk about your program then, James. What is it that you do and who do you help?
All right, so I basically help men anywhere. Most of the type of guys I get are usually in their 40s, but we help guys anywhere between sort of 35. I've had guys as young as 30 in as well, right up to like 60. I've had guys who 65 in the mastermind. We have a simple, clear funnel to run with people. So we have a 5-day Fire It Up challenge, which is free. It literally costs nothing. And you come in, you work with 5 key points with me on the book. Okay, so it's basically putting the theory of the book into practice. Then there's an opportunity for guys to come and work with me on a 28-day man-made project. And that is re-educating guys to look at the structures and models that work for me. Now, what I'm not trying to do is create loads of JBs. I'm trying to create loads of other guys. I'm trying to create Deans and Pauls and Johns, but with the models that I have for them to integrate them into their lives. Yeah. So it's a re-education. It's accountability by forcing people to show up, and in terms of weekly focuses, weekly timetables, creating their master plan for the week for morning accountability. So once they've done the morning routine, they show up and say what they've done in their morning routine. We've got like 12 modules where we teach routine, structure, time management skills, self-awareness, some nutrition stuff. It's not massively in fitness nutrition based. There is that element to it. But I feel that if anyone's going to want to be healthy, they've got to control everything else around them. It's basically teaching 3 C's. Now, the first C is consistency of action, okay? One of the biggest things for men and all other people, whether you're trying to build yourself up as a business owner or in health, is actually showing up consistently at 1% a day. Like the 1% a day, it's all about the marathon. It's not the sprint, okay? And a lot of people try to achieve too much too soon. So it's learning to be consistent with small steps forever. Yeah. Okay, so if you come onto my program, so let's say you're 40 years old, I say to you, you've got 50 years to nail this. You've got 50 years left, not 50 fucking days, not 50 weeks, 50 years. So if you can show up 1% for the next 50 years, you are going to have a great life. Okay, so it's teaching consistency, teaching control of your time, your energy, your productivity. So your time and your energy are the most valued assets you own, not your house, not your podcast, not your wife, not your kids. It's your time and your energy and what you do with them and how I've wasted so much that mine are locked down. All right. And when you can control them, you become this elite operator. So we use elite operator in our mastermind. Okay. That's the mindset that we work towards. The elite operator is the countermeasure to the chimp. All right. So the elite operator or the chimp, which one's going to work? And then the last one is clarity of your North Star. So where are you heading? What path are you doing? Where do you want to be in 10 years, 5 years, 1 year, 12 weeks? And reverse engineering that to where you are today to know what path you've got to be on. So the consistency part and the control part all align with your clarity.
I love it. I think that's, do you know what? I always know when I'm really present and listening, because normally I'm thinking, right, what questions have I got next? And I'm just like, oh yeah, James, tell me more. I'm like, holy shit, I haven't actually thought of anything to ask next. What is your next, your 5-day free program? What is the link to that? Because I'll put a link in the show notes for everyone to have a look.
I can send it to you. I'll send it to you.
I'll make sure there's a link in the show notes, everybody, for that as well. So I always ask this, and for you, I think this would be a great question. What has been the biggest needle movers in your business and you personally? What is the 20% of effort that you put in that you get 80% of the results for?
Just being me.
Just showing up as you.
Just being me. Don't pretend to be, like, honestly, I think that was the biggest turning point for me. Like it sounds stupid, but I tried to please everybody when I first started, right? Like all the time. And I noticed as soon as I just started being me, just being the normal human being that I am, showing my faults, showing my vulnerabilities, my insecurities, which I face all of the time. Like somebody called me a guru the other day and I nearly choked him out. And like, I'm most definitely not, I'm just a fucking dad of 3 who is passionate about helping people. Like, you know, I don't have the magic answers. I'm nothing special, but I just have some really good ideas about how you can construct your life, build a business, have a better life. And I think it's so simple, but I think if you're just yourself, you can really make a difference. And if you're just honest with people. And I think something that is missing from the whole entrepreneurial world is just honesty and openness. Yeah. And that encourages other people to be open and honest. And that is where people start changing, is when they can handle and face the truth about themselves. So if I'm turning around saying, like, I was a bag of shit, I was a knobhead, I was selfish, I was the one who caused the divorce, I was the one that let down the partners, I was the one that let down my kids, I was the one that fucked my business over, like, or whatever it might be. I haven't fucked my business over, it's just an example. But but you know what I mean? Yeah. The number one place to start for everyone listening, whether it's your health, your mindset, your business, is to take responsibility and face yourself in the mirror, and you turn around and go, oh God.
That was perfect timing. You face it and then ding, 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 ding.
That was my daughter. 2 seconds. I'm going to switch my phone off because she would be relentless. She'd never stop phoning.
It's like my wife.
Yeah. So it never stops. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what is absolutely, like, just key. It's just being you and affirming to that. That's what moves your business forward, because you don't have to pretend. And when they come into the program, you don't have to pretend you're some, you know, if you're a PT, you don't have to pretend that you train all the time and you eat loads of work. You know, you don't have to pretend that you always practice what you preach, because you have bad days as well. You know, I can just be myself. That's why I do the vlog. I do the vlog to emphasize my life is chaos as well, but I do have really great coping mechanisms, and that really gives people hope. And I think that's what really moves a business forward.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not honest with yourself, you can't be honest with anybody else. And regular listeners of this podcast will know that I just try to be my complete self. I stutter over words. I said the wrong things in the wrong order at times, but I don't try to hide that, because that's me. I'm passionate about certain things, and I go on way too much, and I waffle. But do you know what? That's who I am. And some people are going to resonate with that. Some people are going to like it. Some people aren't. But all I can do is be me, and that's good enough for me, and it's good enough for my family. So I finally. Do you know what? After 38 years, I think probably only the last couple of years that I was okay with that with the self-development and stuff and the path that I've been on, that it's the first time that I've accepted who I am, and I'm happy being me. Before, I probably tried to pretend to be somebody else, somebody I wasn't, and somebody I never ever resonated with. So there was always something missing. I was never aligned correctly. And now that I'm just okay, and I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses, and boy have I got loads and loads of weaknesses as well. But I'm okay because I am me. What does success look like to you, James? A deep question, isn't it, for you?
Oh yeah. So I think I think success for me is fulfillment, the feeling of fulfillment. So I think for me, fulfillment is 2 things. And I think it's the feeling of moving forwards and growing. Yeah. And that goes across those 4 pillars, right? You know, that sense, because I feel like if you're not growing, you're kind of dying. And I kind of do feel like it's kind of giving back a little bit. So in terms of, like, what can I do to help somebody? Like, you know, what can I do in terms of charities, in terms of giving away things? You know, the number of free places I've given on my course to people who've been in the shittest position. Like, there was a guy who's on my 28-day right now, and he lost his mum and dad within 2 days of each other from COVID. And I literally, he just reached out on our free group, and he was just like, I said, like, dude, if you ever need anything, just reach out. And he goes, I'll take you up on that. And I thought, he probably never will. And I never like to force it, because I just like them to be ready. Yeah. And he actually tagged me and said, James, are you free for a call? When I phoned him, and I said, right, we're going to get you on a program. We're going to get you sorted out. And he's just finishing the program now, and he's in a much better place, like much better place. And to me, that is great. Do you know what I mean? And I think I honestly, a lot of people say this, but I truly believe if I ended up winning the lottery, I don't think I could not do this anymore, because you almost get to a point where you feel that you're responsible to help people. But imagine if I just stopped right now, everyone that I've helped or built up, like, would be lost again, and it would end up going back, and I wouldn't want to carry that weight on my shoulders, so to speak. So I think success, in the long answer, is fulfillment, is the feeling of growth and giving back.
Yeah, you've got a big responsibility on your hands, haven't you? With all these people look up to you and they not need you, but they lean on you for help and support. Dan Bradbury, the author of that book there, he's actually been on the podcast as well. And I'm in his private mastermind. And when COVID happened, I was looking at my cash flow forecast for my self-storage business, and I was thinking, holy shit, I don't really know what's going to happen. I don't know if everyone's going to go out, if everyone's going to leave. So I got in touch with Dan and I said, Dan, look, I'll be honest, buddy, I don't know what the future holds. So if it's okay with you, I'll pause the membership. And Dan, we had a real long chat, and Dan said to me, Dean, you don't need to pause it, because what I'll do, I'll give you it for free. He said, if you're telling me that you're worried about your business, then fine. I want to help you. I care about you. I care about your business. And if you can afford it, pay me. And if you can't, don't pay me. And after that, I was just like, do you know what, Dan, you've got a customer for life now. I will, because you've shown that you genuinely care about my business. And now I will never leave. And I guess that your customers, your clients feel the same about you, because you can tell that you
we had the same. So I think we did that there was about 7 guys who suddenly were in the shit in April, who were furloughed and stuff. So we covered their payment. I'm covering their payments at the end of July. So that's almost like they're all going to save like 400 quid each. Do you know what I mean? So it's, and to me, it's like, you're right, because, if they go, then it's going to take them another year to come back. And I was like, and you question yourself in terms of like doing this for the right reasons. And the right reasons is because you're passionate about helping, it's, and it was the right thing to do. And, and the guys have managed to keep their head above water all of this time along the way, exactly like Dan's done for you. He's helped and guided you. And, I think that really helps in terms of like showing true colours. People really show their true colours when it comes to things like that. So what's the difference to me? Like, if they're going to leave, they're not going to pay me anyway, but I might as well be able to help them anyway, and give them some hope and guidance and support all the way through a very stressful period.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say that it's not the how you handle the good times that define you. It's how you handle the bad times. It's what you do in the bad times that really define you. Because everyone can be awesome in good times and be a great human being, but then it's the bad times when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, when things aren't going your way. That defines you. And so, yeah, I love the fact that you do that, and Dan's done that for me. So just obviously the time and stuff, I'm conscious about the time. So one last question before I get into the 5 questions for fun. What is the one thing that you know now that you didn't know at the start of your entrepreneurial journey that you really wish you'd have known? And that's I told you I stumble over my words. That was a terrible way of putting it. But
no, I got it. You're mate. I'm always tongue-tied. That it takes time. That everything worth having takes failure and learning and time, and that nothing's achieved overnight. I used to listen to people when I first started who were running 6-figure businesses, who were super successful, who seemed like they were running the world, right? And I was like, I want to get to that, but I want to get to it now. Like, and when you realize that these things take time, and that you have to fail miserably. And there's been times when me and Louisa, who's my assistant, who's been with me for the last 3 years, we have worked our nuts off the last 3 years, grinded it. We've had our head in our hands. We've cried. We've been like, oh my God, this is like a rough journey. And now we are in a place where we are blossoming as a business and as a company, but it's taking time to get to that point, right?
Yeah.
And I always understand that even when you get to that point you want to get to, you'll then think, okay, let's get to the next point. Let's get to the next point. Let's get to the next point. And it never stops. It never stops. The place that I want to get to next, you'll get there and you go to the next point, to the next point. And it's always that, but it's just a case that understanding this whole process takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely echo that as well, because I am one that I've got my goals, my ambitions, and I can't stand it if I'm not making progress. I want to be there now. I've got these every year. I start my goals, and then I have my affirmations, and I read my goals every day, and I'm like, I'm not making movement enough. I need to go. So yeah.
Which is why you work at night. That's why you get on your emails at night, because that's what you think. But then when you change that attitude and you think about the long-term vision, you're like, I've got 50 years to build this business. So what's one fucking night of not emailing and spending it with the kids? However, in 10 years, the kids are going to be gone. Do you know what I mean? So it's aligning the vision that you have long-term with your actions that are happening right now. And then when you understand that actually, like, I've got the next 20 years to build this business, 30 years. Bailey and Nair is 13 in 5 years? I'd be lucky if I even see him. So why don't I spend my time there? And then in 5 years, when I've got no one else here, I'll just spend my time emailing at night because there's no kids around. Do you know?
Me and the wife was just having the exact same conversation this morning. My kids we've got one kid at home because he can only go to school 2 days a week at the minute because of a COVID situation. And Kai, my 4-year-old, he went to nursery the first time. And on the way to nursery, I said to Claire, we're all walking as a family. And I said, Claire, do you know what? We really should have a look at these moments, because these moments are like the best moments of our life. We'll look back when the kids are 18, 19, and we don't know where they are. We don't know what the hell they're doing. They won't spend any time with us whatsoever. And we'll look back and do you remember when they looked up to us so much and we spend so much time with us? I love it. Like this afternoon, 12 o'clock, 12:30, my son has got one of his friends over and they want a football match against me in the back garden. And moments like that are the moments that for me matter the most. And I've got to ring fence them so that nothing comes in between those moments.
100%. I completely agree. And I often think, like, when I'm conflicted in my mind, when I'm feeling that I need to do extra work or I feel that I have to stay behind in the office, I always think that I can't remember what podcast it was. It was when I was training for one of my 100 milers. But I remember listening to this, and he was talking about if he was on his deathbed and he was looking at the 10 or 12-year-old version of himself, and he was saying to giving him one piece of advice, what would it be? And it would be to say that, like, he can't take all of the money, he can't take the business, the empire and everything that he builds there. But what he can do is leave much more of a legacy to his kids in terms of the memories that they've created. And it's that ripple effect that the things that I do with Bailey, and with Angelina, who's 15 and has pretty much already moved out, and my younger daughter, all of the memories and all of the things that I do with them, just the same as in trying to have that impact with men, they will have that impact with their kids. So they see the things that I'm doing, they'll understand the ethics of hard work, balance being one of the big, huge thing. And understanding this type of stuff. And this is something I want to touch on next year. Somehow is helping teenagers understand things like mental health, vulnerability, being more aware of your time and your energy and where it's going. And because I think a lot of where the men are right now and the people that I'm helping stems from things that have happened growing up as a kid, you know, the way that their parents were and understanding all of that. And I think if we can educate from a younger age, the ripple effects of the next 15 to 20, 25, 30 years from now, from all the guys that are in my boys and daughters generation, will be much more positive.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, and it stems like generations. You know, men weren't supposed to show emotions, they weren't supposed to cry or anything like that. And it's slowly developing and changing where it's okay for men to show emotions. It's okay for men to get upset and cry and stuff like that. And I'm a big believer in all that. And I'm very conscious about the time. Your podcast. What is your podcast called?
It's called It's a State of Mind. It's just the same as the book. I'm good for time, so don't stress because he's not even up yet. So
awesome. Can I ask then, who is you mentioned quite a lot about you listen to podcasts and stuff. I've got a question written down here on my notepad. Who is somebody that you look up to then in the entrepreneurial space or podcast?
So there's a couple of people that I absolutely love, and it's the same old cliche guys I think as everyone else. But Gary V, I absolutely love his energy. I think you go through periods of liking Gary V and then kind of coming out of Gary V and going in again. But like, I've always loved his energy, and I've always loved some of the things he says. There's always snippets. And he played a very big part in my energy system in terms of growing an online business. You know, he would pick me up when I needed it. He was my pickup.
Yeah.
In terms of delivery, believe it or not, I've only just got into listening to Tony Robbins. And I think he's quite a fascinating individual, very powerful, very strong, very dominant. And I really enjoy listening to him. But And I actually don't like listening to too many people. And I tell you why, because I think you can get easily influenced by people, and that ends up having an effect on your business. So those guys I enjoy listening to, but most of the time I don't actually listen to too many now. I listen to audiobooks, so get mixed up. I tell you who I love is Kevin Hart, that guy.
Oh my God, I've just listened to his book last 3 days. Jesus Christ.
Is it called The Decision?
Decision, yeah.
Yeah, so I've just got that and download. I'm just finishing a book, and then I saw that, and I listened to the podcast with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's my favourite podcast.
Yeah.
And I listened to the interview with Kevin Hart and Joe Rogan, and I could feel my internal system flaming, ready to let's get to work. And I literally cannot wait to get into his audiobook.
James, I promise you, I loved your book, but this has to be the best book I've ever read. It's immense, and I nearly didn't listen to it because I thought, oh yeah, he's a funny guy, comedian, but what's he going to teach me about personal development and balancing your life and all this? Yeah, it's absolutely incredible.
He's one of the most underrated entrepreneurs out there. Him and The Rock, the way that Dwayne Johnson runs his show is if you watch what he does and how he does it, is insane. He's got, and the key is, and this is something I'm working. And Rob Moore, I've got into Rob Moore recently as well. He talks a lot of sense. But what they all have is their fingers in lots of different pies, which is one of the biggest mistakes I've made. Is putting all your eggs in one basket. They all have multiple sources of income, so they've got their fingers all in pies, and you're everywhere. You're literally everywhere, and that's how you create that business and that drive. So they're guys that I really quite like listening to.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had different bits, but my foundation has always been the stories. That covers my life. We've got 2 self-storage facilities, and that's kind of covers all the running costs. But I realised that during COVID that I thought self-storage was strong and there was nothing that could change it. It was going to be fantastic forever. And it's just made me realise, don't get me wrong, we only lost 15.6% of revenue, which is really good. But it's made me realise that I am over-reliant on one area of my life, and that's why I need to diversify a little bit. I love doing this podcast. I love doing things like this, and there's different areas now I'm working on to make sure that I'm not so reliant on that. But yeah, I think The Decision, it was such a good book. It was so impactful.
I can't wait now. You've got me pumped up for it.
You won't put it down. You won't put it down. Literally, it was fantastic. And I do a book review every single week. And yours is, when this comes out, yours will be the Saturday before. Our interviews always come out on Wednesday, so yours will be the Saturday before the book review. And I'm hopefully going to squeeze his in as well very, very soon, because it was such a good book. Another guy that you should listen to is Ed Milet. You remind me so much of Ed Milet. He's an amazing guy, and he's just sorry.
What does he do?
He's a coach, so he was an athlete. He was some sort of American sportsman, but he got injured, and now he's a coach to the coaches. And he's got the #1 business podcast in America now, and he's just absolutely incredible. Yeah, Ed Milet, and he talks so much sense. And when he talks, I find myself like when you speak, I just genuinely oh yeah, that's good, and it's exactly the same. So Ed Milet is somebody you should look up to, have a look into, because he's brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to go to the 5 questions for fun, the 1-sentence answers.
All right.
What does your perfect day look like?
What does my perfect day look like? Organised.
And give us one tool that you can't live without.
My phone.
And what's one daily habit that contributes to your success?
Morning routine.
Yeah. And what's the best advice you have ever received?
Don't overestimate what you can achieve in 1 year. No, people don't overestimate what you can achieve in a year. Oh, fucking hell. What is it? How does it go? I'm going to sound like a real bell end here, aren't I? People overestimate what they can achieve in a year, but underestimate what they can achieve in 5 years.
Yeah, do you know what? I was going to help you out then, because another quote, and I was like, I can't even remember it. I'm terrible.
I'm trying to say it as in I'm saying it, but you have to say it in that way, don't you? So, yeah, I love that.
And recommend one book. I'll give you 2, because obviously It's a State of Mind. And what's another book that's impacted you?
Extreme Ownership.
Yeah, Jocko Willink. He's awesome, isn't he?
Yeah, I love that.
And if people wanted to find out more about you, where would they go?
Instagram, Facebook, at The Man Coach, or you can email me at boardmanjames.com.
Right, and we'll put a link to all of them in the show notes as well. James, I've really, really enjoyed talking to you, buddy. I think it's been awesome, fascinating, and I really appreciate your time, pal. And I just hope that this podcast, this video podcast, can impact somebody as well in a positive manner.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Honestly, I am very humbled that anyone asks me on. But so thank you very much.
My pleasure, buddy.